everybody. Welcome to the Bar is Open last call tonight. We've got Allison Clay with us tonight. It's going to be a fun fucking show.
Such an honor. Thank you for having me here. Really appreciate it.
Staying up late night. This
I
is
love
literally
being
a
up
late
late.
night last call, which is awesome. So in the prior last call, I've talked about the reason we do this. It's really to kind of highlight people that have done unique and honorable jobs, really in like serving the community, right? And the work you've done is a unique job. And we're going to get into that here in a couple of minutes. So I really want to just share that with you guys. Go out, check it out. We'll post this out in the next, it'll probably be out tomorrow or something like that. But check it out on YouTube. It'll be out on, not on Instagram. I always say that. It's not on Instagram.
Why not?
I say that? But it's going to be on iTunes and Spotify, obviously, and then Podbean as well for listening enjoyment. But yeah, you'll be able to check it out there. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with me.
Anytime. I like talking into a microphone. It's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of different. So cheers.
Yeah, it is.
We always like to kick off the show with a quick cheers because it is the bar is open, right? Normally, normally the bar is open with Beth and Greg, but this is a special show, and I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you were the unintentional campaign manager for your mom.
Right.
Right. And that's really, we're going to go through a little bit of Allison's background and talks through some of that. But I've known Allison for 6-7 years now. She's married to one of my best friends for like 30 years. And this kind of just like, it really struck me as being, it's a super interesting thing to me. It's like, how in the fuck do you manage doing something like that? How do you, like, what is being a campaign manager? Like, we see like the national level shit happening.
Right.
And you were at for your mom, it was local. It was the 14th Congressional District.
In Florida.
In Florida. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things.
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, I work for her company.
Right.
I'm her daughter, so I wear a lot of hats.
Right.
It's just like working for a boss that has a lot of demands and requests. And so over time, there was just a need to fulfill things for the campaign that weren't being currently met by her team. And I just stepped in and started assisting where needed. And then before you know it, it was, a full-time endeavor.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy, all of a sudden, it's a crazy lifestyle. So let's go back. Let's back up a little bit and kind of give a little bit of your background, right? So to say, okay, I wouldn't say that I am nearly qualified to become a campaign manager. I don't even know what it takes to become, I don't even know what the qualifications for that would be. So I know, like, for instance, we've been friends, like, I know some of your background, right? What was your background in? Like sales and marketing and
sales, public relations, marketing, helping businesses get started. All those types of avenues all kind of intertwine themselves. And when you look at the political sphere as far as marketing your candidate and who you're representing, and also working for someone that signifies values that align with your personal beliefs. So again, for me, falling into that, especially with my mother being in the role she was in, I was very uncertain about my political beliefs, for quite some time. And then, of course, becoming older, having children of my own and looking at the world at large really shifted my perspective of where my values lied, or laid, or however you want to say it.
Right.
And, looking at what she was doing and trying to accomplish, I just felt like I had her best interests at heart to help her get her name out there to the community at large so they could understand who she was, that they had someone available that they could reach out to make change.
Yeah. It's just interesting, right? And you start thinking about, like, again, you you want to have an impact in your community. And we were talking earlier, trying to talk just before this to kind of go over some of the notes, and that's just kind of how you have to do these type of things. And one of the things was that it would have been an uncontested, basically, run in that particular district, something like that, right? Is that the way you put it? I think.
Well,
like
I don't think I didn't
had your mom not stepped up, right?
Right. Yeah. So the candidate who's been a 14-year incumbent had nobody running against her for her seat, and I think there was a myriad of factors, COVID playing into it, the shutdown, how that's affecting small businesses. My mother, who owns a successful small business in Florida, so she would be a great candidate to speak for the people, representing the people, to let them know, hey, I'm a small business owner.
Community,
I know how this feels. I understand these impacts that directly affected her desire to run for office again against this candidate.
That's cool. And that I think
it's unique. It you know what? It really does take a unique personality to run for any type of public office. I have a lot of respect for these people because from my own personal experience and the people that I dealt with and encountered and met, moreover, these people are dedicated to the people and want to help them and be an advocate for their constituency of citizens that they represent.
And that's what you'd want. I mean, it's like
you want people who are accessible. And that's one thing that I started learning, as a tax-paying citizen is, hey, you want access to your candidates. You have every right especially when they're campaigning, get out there, show up, go to an event, meet these people, ask your questions, figure out where their values align with yours. And whatever your criteria is for voting with that person, supporting their candidacy and their campaign, because it really does come down to that individual level assistance to perpetuate your campaign and keep it going.
So it's a great way to wrap and kind of tie that initial part up. And now I really want to get into kind of like your perspective on being a campaign manager. It's really the thing. So because we've been friends for so long, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm like, holy shit, Allison's like managing a campaign, right? And I've known you for a long time, and you've had a lot of different jobs. We've had conversations, we have dinners, we've done a lot of different things, and it's like, again, it comes down to I wouldn't even know where to start on something like that, right? So, it got you. Basically, you got into the campaign, like you said, because your mom was like, "Hey, it's a job. I need you to fill this position and lead this role."
It was kind of more of me jumping in and saying, you need my help.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you need me. She had a campaign consultant that she had brought on, and it wasn't until I came across an invoice from this company that really kind of sparked my curiosity, like, what is going on here?
Right.
This is an exorbitant amount of money for whatever I was reading on the invoice with no backup. I worked in the construction industry. It was very commonplace with invoices for the client to request backup.
What's a backup mean?
Let's say in construction, your biggest expense is your dump fees.
Okay.
So you would have to turn in your dump tickets showing.
That you had the weight.
Right. Yep. That correlated to the job. Okay. Where was it coming from? Where was it going to? What were you disposing of? That's considered backup documentation.
Okay.
And so, to get an invoice that was so exorbitant in cost with no backup provided, no proof of what you're saying you're doing is being done or given to us, really got me going, hey, Mom, what is this? What's going on?
When you hire a consultant for like a political kind of situation like that, like a candidacy, what are you expecting those consultants to do? Because I imagine it's this is at a smaller level. Imagine you start getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
Is that where the millions and hundreds of, you know what I mean? It could get exorbitant, I imagine. Like, what are they doing for you?
Well, it really just depends on what you're agreeing to. You have to read the contract, and that's where reading really comes into play.
I mean, it makes sense, but
Most
it's like
people don't do it in
Right.
life.
So for like
you go to the doctor,
yeah.
you sign a confidentiality release, or a therapist, or you're renting a car and you're exonerating responsibility in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. It's important to read the fine print. I know it seems tedious and exhaustive to do it, but
it's in
oftentimes
your best interest.
it is, so that you're
Hire
aware.
a fucking lawyer.
Regardless,
I mean, they're gonna hire a lawyer for everything, but
if your arm is twisted and you know, okay, well, I've got to hire this person. Shit, okay, well, at least I need to be aware of my potential costs, or what do I have to do on my part in
Right.
order to sever the contract or whatever it may be. So given that, there's a lot of different things that go into play when you're bringing on a consultant, because they basically are looking at statistical, empirical evidence, and so to speak. And they're
Okay.
saying, hey, okay, well, based on your demographic of voters and your district and how the voter history turnout has been, this is what has worked before. So they kind of present to you, you should do, let's just say A, B, or C. Okay. It could be, we need you to do mailers. You should do TV for this demographic on these channels at this rate and consistency. Now, of course, those people don't supply that for you. They're giving you advice, or sometimes you just sub the work out through them. It could be
for a commercial or something,
right,
Or
and
like
they
you
could
said,
end
an
up
advertisement or in a paper or something.
sure,
Like that. Okay,
sure. So where I kind of stepped in after calling bullshit on this invoice, realizing this is a ridiculous cost. This doesn't make sense. I don't think we should be going this avenue, and offering other alternatives.
right.
Right. So there's no guidebook to this. Like, I Googled it. I tried looking up like, okay, like how to be a campaign manager, like all this stuff's coming up. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to call them. You just learn as you go.
Right.
You literally learn as you go.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Well,
did you have any mentors, or did you know anybody else that's a campaign manager?
No,
or did you meet anybody along the way? It's like, hey,
kind of, yeah. Like through my own social media exploration and following certain individuals, I would come across other people, and they would be like, hey, I can offer this. I've had certain social media influencers that I was able to have personal one-on-one attention with, like, bring in my mom, sit down, have a lunch, talk with these people, listen to their advice. These are people who have, hundreds of thousands and millions of followers on social media, giving us their advice and what they would do.
Okay.
There's that. There's other consultants I've come across that have offered their assistance, support, advice, which is great. Like, I'm all ears, and you have to take it with a grain of salt. Like, you definitely
everybody's
do.
in it for their. In this kind of business, it's an
other
interesting thing, right? I mean, because people are in it for themselves.
You meet a lot
You
of
are a
interesting
salesperson,
people.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
so, go ahead.
no, you're good. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And that's kind of what I was thinking. It was like, it's like a lot of jobs and a lot of positions, you do have kind of a situation where you have a mentorship kind of thing. But in a situation where it's so cutthroat, almost like politics is now so cutthroat, right? I mean, it is. It's like, I don't care if you're whatever your politics or your political party is you want your candidate to get it, right? And we have some sort of secret sauce, and I'm the political campaigning manager. I'm not going to share that with you necessarily, or something like. That's what I mean. It's like, can there be if I were, I don't know. Maybe this is just me being me. And the way that I've tried to come up in life is like we try and mentor people to understand and to learn and to grow and do those sorts of things. And I think you're very much the same person. It's like, I don't think other people think that way in a lot of cases, right? Like, in this, is it possible that you could have a...
There are some people who are so helpful.
Right.
Kind, resourceful, they kind of hold your hand a little bit. They give you advice. but it's hard to know who to trust until you have an experience.
Okay.
And then you have that ability to kind of look around and gauge
All right.
what happened and assess your actions, the candidate that you're working for or represent, what happened as a result of the action or whatever you participated in. You know, you have to have results. You have to measure your level of receptiveness with the audience.
Right.
How did things go overall? I mean, you know, you got to understand, hey, well, turns out maybe we shouldn't have gone to that event that wasn't so well attended, or the audience that was there was very difficult to deal with, let's just say.
Okay.
But I think in general, I met more good people than not good.
That's awesome.
And people who want to help you and people who do support our movement. And I call it a movement because even its incidences recently up until, you know, this very day have been very divisive. And it's not really about the party line. It can be, but, you know, for us, and I know for my mom, it's about for the people and doing what's right for them. And if it happens to go a certain way with a particular party, then that's fine. We understand things have changed across party lines over decades, but it's about being a good representative
of your community and
open,
people, yeah.
available, someone who will listen, someone who really wants to make change. And that's what's ultimately the most important thing.
Really comes down to, that's the biggest thing, is taking care of the people in the communities.
1,000%.
And it doesn't matter what fucking side you're on, honestly.
Well, right.
And it's just being a good human being and looking out. And yeah, you can have an R or a D or an I or
that was always something that we campaigned against. That was one of like her kind of her tenets of her campaign. Like, it didn't matter what letter you hang over your name. It's what do you stand for? Where do your values lie? And who do you care about at the end of the day?
Right.
And, you know, we just want to make sure that we can help people as a whole and be there for them.
It's awesome.
Collectively.
It's awesome. So, all right. So really kind of like, let's get in a little bit deeper. What did you have did you face any sort of adversity when you were going through, any pushback as, you know, because again, it comes down to, you know, there's going to be, again, you'd mentioned that were there multiple Republicans running at the same time?
Well, you have your primary.
Okay.
Yeah. So in your primary, you're running against people within your own party to get on the ticket for the general election.
So, okay, cool. So did you have a lot of pushback on that?
Not so much. Okay. The person that we ran against, they were an older gentleman who had held different, public positions over his course of time living in the Tampa, Hillsborough area, but not direct pushback necessarily. You hear whispers from this person or that person that they may want to tell you things that they think about that your candidate should or shouldn't do. Well, maybe if she just dressed a little bit more conservatively, that could help the vote.
Interesting.
Right.
It's like,
or she had been told herself that her values were too conservative and that could hurt her coming into a blue district. So it's kind of like, you have people within your own party who are trying to shape you. They're trying to tell you, well, I don't really like that one statement you made at that event, and you're going to need to rethink your angle on fill in the blank in order to get the approval. I mean, and that's just from everyday people. Then you have it going up the ladder with different groups because at a point, people want endorsements. Okay.
Right. So we're going to get into donors and stuff like that in a minute.
Yeah.
But endorsements is a huge thing.
Right. Yeah. So getting endorsements from community leaders, organizations, business partners, maybe you volunteered for a nonprofit. Let's just say you'd want those people to come forward and potentially endorse you. It's very difficult to get endorsements. Those don't come lightly. It's kind of, it's a little bit of a dog and pony show, but it's also about getting your peers to essentially give you the nod on paper and let you know that they support your campaign.
Right. So it's kind of there's so many, again, it comes down to there's so many facets and like angles for this, right? I mean,
it's
really,
huge.
it's
I mean,
huge.
I took on too much, you know, I mean, most
you
campaigns.
need like 3 of you to be able to do something.
I mean,
like
most
this.
campaigns have a full-fledged team of, you know, the manager
Somebody that manages
is supposed to manage
a team of people.
And I didn't have a team. I had a few people, a few select volunteers that, you know, we would get people.
Let's get into volunteers. Let's talk that.
Yeah, they come
let's
in.
Talk volunteers.
Okay,
like,
sure.
when we're getting into it, it's like one of the bigger challenges you mentioned to me earlier is like volunteers, right? And you have really great volunteers, and then you have volunteers that are kind of
fly by night,
right? And they come in for a little bit, or they just don't come in sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
you get people who, you know, at first they love the attention, a lot of excitement. They're young, they want to be involved, and then when it comes down to getting something done, you know, sometimes they have an inability to critically think and get it done. Like come on.
Or maybe they question, like,
or who knows?
Should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Was there?
It's hard for them. Well, you know, when you're older and you've had jobs and you have all this experience, you
kind of know how to deal with shit.
You just step up. You ask questions. You go, hey, everybody, what's going on here?
20-something, you're young 20s or something person.
They're young.
Like,
you
I don't know what to do.
know,
I'm looking for a direction. You're like,
Yep. I can't give it to you. I need you to be the one offering direction. So that can be a little difficult, you know. And
that happens,
But, you know, it takes time to build up your name. It takes time to get people to understand who you are and what you present. But, you know, I had a really great volunteer who was amazing and awesome. And it was like right before the election, he just kind of ghosted us. And it was like, I can't get a hold of you.
Shit, yeah.
Where are you? Where'd you go?
So are you trying to,
you just have to move on.
How many, like, okay, so you're doing like a door knocker kind of thing.
Those are some days, yeah.
Is that a different, okay, so you have...
Well, you have a lot of different roles. Okay,
right,
so like...
Right, so I guess that's the thing. There's a million different types of volunteer
So many different types of
right?
things they could be doing, yeah. And you know, the thing is, like, when people would reach out, it was like, I would go to them, okay, well, where are your strengths? What do you enjoy doing? So, for example, like, I had this amazing volunteer who did graphic design for us. And so he came forward, actually reached out and was like, hey, I'm a graphic designer, whatever you need made. If you need signs, banners, posters, I'll do it for you for free. And I was like
holy shit.
Oh my God.
That's a huge deal.
That can be a huge cost. I mean, that could have cost us $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over a campaign.
Yeah.
That was all donated, which was amazing.
Right.
I luckily, through people that I met in relationships, I was able to find a great videographer that I could hire, but at a very lower, you know, at a more competitive price point. Like, we didn't have a multi-million-dollar campaign to run. So I had to be resourceful with my funds when I had funds available and go, okay, well, this week I can afford to run a commercial on the radio on these stations at these days and times. Okay, perfect. I'm going to do that.
Because everything's by the hour.
Things
fluctuate.
They change. Your demographic, you know, kind of
shifts
adjusts,
as the time goes.
To
and
what's
the day.
going
on.
on.
That makes sense.
So there's a lot for me. Like, I'm always kind of looking at all the angles, all the availabilities, but having a graphic designer was really cool, like, great. And then, of course, like, other businesses were very helpful to us. You know, one business in particular where we hosted a fundraiser for the campaign. They didn't even charge us for the space. So at a time during COVID when all these businesses are shut down, and he could have potentially charged us
double
thousands of dollars. It was like, hey, there's no charge for the space. We'll do whatever you want. We'll help you guys out with the visual aids, the signage, you know, publicizing the event on their own platforms, which was very helpful. So, you know, again, like, you meet people who support the cause. They want to be involved. And that's great ways that businesses and people in general can help and be involved.
And that's, that's volunteering. It doesn't just have to be. I think a lot of people think of volunteering as like going out and handing out things and getting people to sign things. But there's a million. There's different ways.
There's so many things. You can do phone calls. You can do emails. If you don't want to go door to door, let's say you want to stand on a corner and wave a sign for an hour. That's a huge thing for us. Showing up at a voter facility. You know, they had early voting for 2 weeks.
And being out front.
Yeah, showing up, standing outside with a sign, like that's very important to us to know, hey, I can count on this person to be there. Awesome.
That's a challenge. So that was the challenge is oftentimes, which is cool.
That can be.
But I think it's cool that you're able to, again, come in. It's another quiver in your or arrow in your quiver to be able to say, all right, now I've managed donors and campaign finances and all of these different things. So when you were thinking of like, okay, campaign finances, and that comes to the donor portion of it, right? It's like, what are the bigger challenges? Because again, you see like on the news and shit like that, right? It's like, oh, Joe Biden gets $500 billion in campaign or whatever it is, or Trump has this amount of campaign. But when you really get down to the smaller communities, right, and the local districts, like you're the 14th Congressional District in Florida, right? It's one out of how many X number of congressional districts. Like, you're battling over smaller dollars, obviously, right? But every dollar counts, I imagine, right? So when I think of donors, and this is something that we were talking about before, it's like, yeah, we have like, I think of donors as like businesses and stuff like that. Oftentimes, like, I don't know, you think your Amazons and you think your grocery stores or whomever are donating to those. But it really comes down to like the families or the people in the community oftentimes. But what else would you say about that? I mean, as far as that goes, it's like, how do you drum up donations and those sorts of things?
Well, it's getting yourself involved in the local community, making sure people understand your platform, your accessibility, who you are, and what you stand for.
Yeah.
And so through that are a myriad of options. Thankfully, a lot of businesses remained open in Florida
absolutely
during COVID. So we had that ability following local guidelines and restrictions to come in and invite people from the public to attend our events. Of course, there's it's usually a fundraiser or a meet and greet opportunity, or we're constantly trying to make ourselves available to the public. In fact, I had constituents contact us and call us and ask us how we felt about certain positions and where we would lay. And in fact, certain people would be over the moon that I answered the phone.
Really? Because
they've called
right?
they've
picked
called
up your cell phone, you actually get to talk to a human.
they go, oh my God, are you with the Christine Quinn for Congress campaign? Well, yes, I am. Oh my
Who
gosh.
are you? I'm her daughter.
I explained that to him. Oh my gosh, you're her daughter. Wow, you must really care.
Because you're only one step away from the person at that point, right?
Well, and they know I'm going to talk to her and I'm going to tell her what's going on. Hey, Mom, we just got this call from this person who's been trying to reach our congressional representative for the last 3 years and has gotten no response.
Right.
No response at all.
And that's
just not right. Okay. Like your job is based on being able to relay the needs of your local community. And if you're not going to answer a phone call or an email or respond to these people, who are you responding to?
Right. That's a great point.
Where's your time going?
Right.
Because it's not going to them.
How many people are in the 14th district, do you think?
The overall, for our particular area, I think it was around like 800,000.
Okay, so 800,000 people divided by 3. Okay, so maybe a quarter of those people, less probably 10. Let's go 10% of those people actually
may have a need. They may have a complaint. They may have an issue that they need to bring up.
If you're in office for that long, maybe you should probably respond.
Well, and this was a veteran too.
On top of that.
Yeah, like this was a veteran, and we personally
That's
are
on
very-
either side. Don't be a dick and be in office for that long and not answer people's shit.
right.
Right? I mean, that's just kind of common sense. If I got away with,
Mm.
there's no way I could get away with that in my job. There's
Right.
just
Could
no
you
way.
imagine?
Yeah, there's just
Well,
no way.
in no job. What job can
You call
what
somebody for
job do you
3
get
years.
this leverage to just ignore your
Right.
customer
That's just, yeah.
for 3 years?
I don't
Like
give a shit.
nobody would just be like, "Oh, yep, don't want to go to job.
No,
Here you go."
No, delete
You would get fucking
message.
fired.
Yeah.
You would lose your
And you
job.
deserve to.
Yeah, because these are your people. You work for them. Your paycheck comes out of their paycheck.
100%.
Yeah, you
It
know?
literally 100%.
It totally
Yep,
does. So
absolutely.
don't sit there on your high horse and ignore the people who fought for your freedom
Right.
and your ability
Right.
to hit delete.
And
or
it doesn't even
ignore.
have to be a veteran. Anybody. If I'm disabled
Well,
or something
right.
and I need
But
something to
veterans
change.
in particular.
Absolutely.
I mean,
But all of our
it's
money.
not rocket science to think,
Fuck no.
hey, these
Yep.
people dedicated their lives or a portion of their lives for the greater good, for their country and
yeah,
humanity,
yeah.
and not to have the utmost of care and attention. That's bullshit.
Right. 100. I agree 100% with that.
Like, no, I'm not okay with that. My mom's not okay with that. We are voting. She votes as a private person until she's duly elected
Right.
for veterans. She's a veteran advocate for their rights, for their health care, for their benefits. Like, it needs to happen. No questions asked.
100%. I agree 100%. Yeah. There's no
It's a
questions about
no-brainer.
it.
Like,
It literally
it's
is. So when you
obvious,
say like,
yeah.
it's kind of the thing, it's like being out there and being public and being, so moving forward, right? What were the biggest challenges? The biggest challenge was volunteers, right? And then you mentioned to me the other thing was just the unknown, right? Biggest challenge is like,
You don't know what your challenge is until you wake up. Because every day there's some sort of a
that's kind
there's
of what I was
something.
thinking. It was like every day changes like so quickly, like
Right.
especially now.
Yeah.
With all the bullshit going on and like all this fucking craziness happening, right? Is like, how do you maintain that? Like, and I know it was a couple months ago, right? Where you were campaigning, you were doing a lot of it, and
Yeah.
everything. So, like, how do you manage for the unknown? How do you
Answer your phone, listen to your messages, and go
get up early?
No,
No,
I hate
because you're
that.
staying up late anyway.
I'm a night owl. No, really, what it comes down to, and the whole process for me is figuring out who can I trust.
Okay.
Who are people?
Do you have a team of people, like at least a couple, or
There were other candidates, I would say, that I could rely
lean
on.
on?
Oh, for sure.
different districts,
Really
kind of thing?
good. It's like we kind of overlap. Other volunteers I became very close with.
Okay. Yeah.
Other candidates, like I said, within our political party that and everyone collectively was very responsive and
You
welcoming.
hear something comes up. It's coming up.
We all know. We got our little chat going on
little
on
IMs.
WhatsApp.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We have our own inner workings going on to keep us informed, help each other out, whether it's putting out signs, picking up signs, and making sure people know about events, sharing it with them, making sure they're on social media. Hey, getting pictures of them, getting pictures of you. I mean, little things like that are helpful.
Okay.
Just overall with other people within your party
Kind of
for
helps
help.
to deal with that, the weird unknowns. Again.
Well, you get help from people on a local level in certain areas, and then there's not help in other areas.
I was just gonna ask you here in a second. Yeah. So we start talking like pulling in. We don't need to name names, but pulling in help from at a larger scale. Like, what are the challenges with that? So we're talking like your district is predominantly or has historically been Democrat.
Yeah.
Right.
Still
And we're
is.
trying to look. You're trying to look at flipping it to a Republican
Uh-huh.
district, right? What what are the challenges with getting bigger groups to buy into that? And what I mean by that is there's a particular gun association, right? That you can.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to name names, but it's a large gun association.
Right.
And it took me weeks to track these people down to find out who the gatekeeper was, who made the decision on endorsements. And when I finally was able to track this person down, and of course, you know, our candidate that I represent is a lifetime member, huge gun rights activist, Second Amendment activist, I was told, well, we got good news and bad news. The good news is that you can use her rating, her AQ rating, you know, in your advertisements.
Right, so
and
real
in
quick,
your posting.
AQ rating.
An AQ rating is something given by this particular organization, which you'll probably figure out on your own if you.
It's fine, Google it.
Yeah. But they give that to people who are a non-elected candidate or person for their position on gun right ownership and the Second Amendment. Okay, so this is someone who has never officially voted in an election or on an amendment or a bill or a piece of legislation.
Or something like that. Congresswoman, right.
But based on, you know, your questions to their surveys and whatever else their criteria is, you get a certain ranking. They have a grade.
Okay.
It's a grade, right? And so it's like, you know, my mom's an AQ rated, which is the highest rated that you can get. And then I, you know, kind of countered this person. I said, hey, we've got the people in the district next to us on both sides who are AQ rated, who are not even members. They've never held elected office. I was told, well, you know, we stick with winning campaigns. And it's like, well, hey, I need your endorsement to become a winning campaign. People look at that. Like, this is important to get. Won't give it to me.
Because maybe it might have pushed it over.
Apparently, it's some sort of a formula they use. They go back and look on data based on how the opposing party, the Democrats, voted in our district, which is fucking bullshit, in my opinion, because if you want to be behind your opponent, if you're behind your party, be behind them, support them.
Right.
And of course, now more than ever with what's going on with Trump and all of these rhinos who are coming out, or we're figuring out who they are regarding the impeachment. And of course, we've got a week left until he leaves office and everyone's turning on him. It's just bullshit, man. Like, be behind your people, stand up, help them. But I encountered our own opposition in her campaign with people from, you know, his party, whether or not he knew who she was. Someone was sure as hell making sure that Donald Trump had no idea about my mom and her campaign.
It's interesting.
That's for sure. It's very clear.
Being that, what was the difference? What's the term? I guess the points difference between your mom and
the spread on
whatever
that.
The spread is.
You know, going into it, I believe the district had been reconfigured to like a +8, and when we got the final numbers, it still percentage-wise was about 20% difference. It was like 60-40.
Okay.
Which was strikingly similar.
So it's 20 points, but it's actually only
2016.
10-point swing. If you get that extra 10
right.
points,
If you
you're
get
looking
that
at
10,
11.
You're right there.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, what do you know the historic numbers on there? Did you guys did you close the gap from prior years? In other words,
well, that's hard to say.
Okay.
Because there was an exorbitant amount of mail-in ballots, like unsurpassed.
This year
that
hadn't happened.
Showed up.
Okay. So your mom is going to run in 20.
Yeah, she's running again. 2022. Congress is every 2 years. Senate is every 6. State is every 2 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's
very interesting to see what kind of happens. I'm just interested to see like I like numbers. Like I like to
Yeah.
know like statistics and see, okay, what are the probabilities of different things happening? That's what I work on all day long, and then work through
Well,
numbers all day long, right? And try and
sure.
figure
And
those types of things
that's
out. And
that's where your donors really come in because, I didn't quite understand it when I first started. Like, what's the big push for getting donations? Like, I get it. Things cost money. Nothing's free. But, as a virtuous, like idealistic person, I'm always like, but if you're good and you do the right thing, someone's going to notice. No.
people don't give a
The
shit
answer
a
in
lot of
politics
times.
is no. No one gives two shits. And you have to push above and beyond.
Is it as cutthroat? And we haven't talked about it. Is politics even at a local level as cutthroat as it fucking sounds like? Is it cutthroat as shit?
It depends your district and who you're up against. And not only them, but we faced more adversity by some other people within our own political party.
Right.
I was kind of surprised that our opponent didn't put up a big campaign. They alluded to it. They made it look like they spent a lot of money, which is interesting. But she didn't actively campaign, as many Democratic candidates did not, because they were under this guise of fear or whatever you want to call it, of COVID restrictions, and we're going to do this behind a computer screen and campaign, when in the reality is that in our county of Hillsborough, we knocked on more doors for the Trump team, and I say we collectively as Republicans, than any other county in the state.
Right. You did have, what was it, the number 2 door knocker person?
Oh, one of my good friends.
Yeah.
One of my good friends was like the number 3.
Or number 3 or something like that.
Number 3 or 4. She was like right in there. She was like within like a couple.
That's pretty cool.
100 doors.
That's a lot of
knocking on doors.
Like contact with people, and
it's huge. It's huge to get out there, and that's one thing that the
like
Trump campaign had focused on, was being involved, getting out there, talking to voters. I myself did a few occasions where you're going out there, because how else are you going to understand your constituency and your voter base if you don't go out there and talk to them?
Zoom isn't going to do it all the time.
No.
I live on Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge.
Well,
right?
I believe it. 1,000%.
You can get a lot of people that dial
difficult.
in and do those sorts of things. And unfortunately, it's like you get a lot of silence out of it. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, anybody have any questions? And it's literally the silence that I just made for our iTunes and Spotify listeners. It's literally that. It's just a quiet, okay, well, then I guess there's no questions. So we're going to go ahead and move on. And that sucks, because you need the feedback.
That's
the human interaction.
It's huge.
Of doing anything
my
this,
mom is a petite, blonde, very fit individual, and she showed up in some less desirable neighborhoods that are in her district, and was talking to the voters and people. And these are people who are like, I'm a Democrat, I don't want to talk to you. And she was like,
why?
Well,
let's have a conversation.
Yeah,
for
can
a
I
minute.
just share some things with you about my platform? Well, then they start talking. They're sharing things. And they're like, well, shit, I don't want someone taking my guns away from me. I want to be able to defend myself and my family. Well, I'm pro-life. I don't have. They're starting to realize, like, well, I don't have to vote this way. It's not just about guns. There's a lot of other things that go along with the party that people are going, well, wait a second. I'm not okay with this. I like you. Well, shit, I'm going to vote for you. And on one particular occasion, some of these people ran after her, and they tugged on her arm, and she turned around and they said, don't forget about us when you win. You're the only.
When was the last time that other candidate had gone down
Never.
there? Right.
So they told her, you're the only candidate we've ever seen.
Right. That's incredible.
This is a white lady. The thing is that
I've met your mom.
She
yeah,
doesn't.
absolutely.
You know what's cool?
You can
and
Google
you know
her.
what?
Yeah.
She doesn't give a shit. She doesn't care who you are or what you look like or what you do. It's about how you treat people.
Right.
And she knows everybody deserves a fair shot. Everybody deserves that equal opportunity. And that's what the
She
Republican
busted
Party
her ass to create a company.
looks to bring forward to everyone, is bringing forward the Constitution, enforcing the Constitution. That's a whole other show.
But no, that's awesome. And I'm glad you brought that story up, because I think that really brings to light a lot of what people need to start doing. And it's got to be less about kind of like the me and I and about the us and we kind of situation, right? It's just kind of a, well,
you got to pay it forward.
We got to pay it forward.
You got to understand.
You got to put this shit out there.
Rise up,
right?
Everyone together and help your community. And you do that through having conversations with people.
You do
not through a fucking meme or some bullshit internet rhetoric or posting what you ate for breakfast. That doesn't create change. That doesn't.
But I had egg whites.
That doesn't make a conversation.
Egg whites and broccoli for breakfast.
Nobody.
Bullshit.
You know what?
I
Unfortunately,
had a breakfast taco, 2 of them.
I had dose too. I did.
It was good. They were good though.
Dose
but no, you're right. I mean, it really comes down to that. So.
Well, but you have to make the effort.
Excuse me.
Most people don't want to make the effort, and now more than ever. And I get it. Hey, man, the masks, COVID, you got your restrictions.
You got to do what you got to do.
But that doesn't stop you from having a conversation and talking to somebody.
Right. So we all remember it fucking wasn't that long ago. It's like probably 16 months, 2 years, something like that.
Okay,
ago,
what?
That like a Democrat and a Republican could have a conversation. Remember that?
Are you a Democrat
remember those
now?
days?
Wait,
no,
are you
I'm
gonna
just saying, remember?
Reveal yourself to
remember
me?
when Democrats and
No,
independents
because I wasn't even political before.
But I mean,
COVID changed everything.
We never talked about
me,
shit like that.
So.
But regardless, it was like I remember it wasn't that long ago. Like we could have altering.
You still can.
Conversations.
I mean, we
still can. That's exactly it. We still can.
That's how you make. I actually got interviewed by the BBC quite a few times during my tenure doing this. Through a friend of a friend, passed on my number.
That's cool. I didn't know about that.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, tell me about that. Yeah, tell me about that.
So we're friends with a woman who used to be, she still is like the president of the. I'm the worst. I'm sorry, I don't remember the organization
That's okay.
name all the way.
No worries.
But it's like the Republican Federated Group of Florida.
Okay.
And she said, you know what? You are like a soccer mom.
She literally is. Yeah.
Like blah, blah, blah. She was like, is that okay if I give your number
cooler soccer mom, though.
to the BBC? And I was like, oh, sure. So, initially they reached out as a Trump supporter. They wanted to talk to me about my ideas and what I thought. So I had a couple of phone conversation interviews with this other person who lived in the Midwest, who was a Biden supporter. Yeah. And one of the questions they asked me is if I would ever be willing to sit down and meet this person off the radio, face to face, the other woman. I said, by all means, definitely. I mean,
sure.
She had this super cool name for her group. I'll think of it in a minute. It was wine. It was some wine group that it was like this cute, rhymey little name for her wine group out in Ohio.
Okay.
So she was like a soccer mom for Biden and sharing her viewpoints. I was sharing my. They're like, well, Allison, would you ever want to meet this woman?
Shit, let's do it. Let's
I was like, by all means. I said, first of all, her little group sounds fucking really cool.
Right.
That's awesome. I said, secondly, that's how you create change, is by having an open communication experience.
That's exactly it. Right.
Right. And so one of my, this isn't even someone I've met before, but there is a documentary that I watched about a black man who was a jazz piano player who ended up befriending accidentally. It's called An Accidental Courtesy.
An Accidental Courtesy. What's it on?
It's amazing. It's
on
a documentary.
Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix.
Okay. Go on.
Or Amazon, but he accidentally becomes friends with these high-ranking members of the KKK.
Okay.
Yeah, Daryl Davis. Look him up. He's amazing. And watching his documentary called An Accidental Courtesy, he had this statement saying that if I'm sitting on my side over here and you're over here, but we're not talking to each other, how am I going to make change? You make change when you cross that line and you sit down and you have a conversation and I'm going to listen to you. I may not agree with what you have to
Shit,
say,
half the time we shouldn't agree.
but
That's
I
fine.
respect your right to voice your independent thought.
Right. Yeah.
And so over time, there have been a few dozen high-ranking members of the KKK that have walked away from that organization.
Oh, I know who
and
you're
have
talking about.
befriended him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's a big dude. He's like
he's
a big
larger dude,
Yeah.
a little bit, but I like that.
No, I think he's.
So
Yeah, no,
I don't
I've
think
seen,
he's big.
No,
Daryl Davis is called.
yeah.
Mhm.
I've seen that guy. Yeah, absolutely.
So I
as soon
keep
as you
that in
said
my
that
mind.
that statement, I was like, his face came to mind. And
well, because
I'll find it and I'll post it out to the Bar is Open.
it's kind of like when
page.
I talk. I think I was telling you earlier how when I'm around or maybe I don't know who I was telling this to, but like when I'm around younger people, my nieces are in high school and their friends are around. I want to know about them. I want to talk to them.
Yeah.
I want to ask them questions. And I go, does anybody ever talk to you? And they go,
Nobody asks about them.
nobody wants to know
They
about
talk
kids.
at them.
They don't talk
ask
to them.
about them.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's one of the fucking things
these
that
kids these days, to me, it's sad.
I think even like
They don't
adults
have-
are in that situation. It's like everybody, like you have all of the social medias and everybody's talking
Mhm.
at people. They're talking at shit. And we're all saying shit, right? But we're not talking to each other. And that's the whole point of like having conversations and
Make
trying
people
to do this.
feel important.
Right. Don't even
know,
make them feel they are
mean,
important.
But
Reinforce the fact that people are important.
You know what? You're right. And you said that better than I did. But it's not about making them feel important. It's like having someone ask a question.
Like how, not just how.
It's huge.
Remember the old thing is like, how you doing today? And just walking off. It's like, how about you say, how are you doing today? And you fucking stay there for a second and actually let somebody respond.
My favorite is when people ask me, I go up to Starbucks or something, they're like, how you doing today? I'm like, oh man.
Jesus Christ. You don't even
Thank
know.
you for
Right.
asking. I am
You got 10 minutes because
really
let's go get a coffee. I'll
tired.
buy
Oh
Right.
my God, I did not sleep last night. I'm having. They're like, oh my God, you did? Like I had a dream about unicorns and I fell off a cliff.
you. That's awesome.
And-
But that's the only way you get to know those people. Like I drive,
Right.
again, I'm a Starbucks guy once in a while and I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy because they're both right there. Right?
Wait, but you're wearing a Black Rifle
and
coffee
I'm a
company
Black
hat.
Rifle guy. So I'm by heart here.
That's a
but
conundrum.
easy over there, right? So literally they all know my name because I go to all of them enough.
As they should.
Right. I drink a shit ton of coffee.
A shit ton.
But
Oh,
it's
okay.
like, it's even with, you know how they know me? Because I normally I pile all my dogs into my car and Mickey gets to sit on the seat. And if you follow me, you see it all out there. And the other dogs.
Oh, wait.
But they
do
all know
you
me by proxy.
broadcast the coffee run with the dog?
No, I don't broadcast it. They just, everybody knows it. Like the coffee shops know.
Okay.
Right,
So,
so-
you're like the weirdo
That has all the dogs with them.
with the dogs.
Yeah.
And you have a
I'm
story.
not really that weirdo. It's just,
You're okay.
but the idea is that like,
What's the story?
the story is that they all get something out of me bringing my dogs because every single time I have the dogs, they're always up at the window, and every single time somebody pokes their head out, they're like, "Oh my God, dogs! Look at them!" Right, and that's the
Get
point.
really excited.
That's my dogs love it. They love it. That's the whole idea, right? And that's bringing everybody up just a notch for the minute, right? Bringing them up for the.
I think
little
it's
bit for the
just
day.
making things fun again. I mean, you
If I can only
know,
go through a fucking drive-through,
yeah. I mean,
bring the dogs. If that makes people happy, fuck, bring the dogs. Right? I got 3 of them.
I think people have gotten so mean lately.
Yeah.
You know,
And then they need to check the fuck out.
I'm
and
done with mean people.
we're not
like
into it.
me.
All right,
I'm canceling them.
we're not going to cancel anybody.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
fuck
have
it.
to.
Everybody else being
Mean-
canceled,
mean
whatever.
people
So, all right.
suck.
So last question.
Okay.
What was your favorite experience from leading kind of a campaign, being a campaign manager, first time into it?
I don't like titles.
We're going to say campaign
At
manager
all.
because
I
I don't know
hate
what else to
them.
fucking call you. Campaign
Yeah,
boss?
I know.
You're
Right.
a boss bitch?
Yeah, I'm gonna boss around my mom, man. You better
But what would you say it was? I mean, I don't know what else to call you. I mean, it's basically a campaign.
I
campaign
know, but
leader?
I hate that. No, it's fine. I was a big help. Let's just say.
You're a campaign
yeah.
manager, whatever.
To
Did
a
you get
certain
paid anymore? Did you get a
degree.
bonus every once in a while?
I cannot
Should buy you a
disclose
steak
that.
or something.
Yeah, steaks.
There
Yeah,
you go. Just-
really good steaks.
I'm all about steaks.
She made steaks with her own seasoning.
We'll get to that in just a second.
Gosh.
But, I mean, what was your favorite part? Was it just like expanding like your experiences, understanding how shitty people really can be, or how great people really can be? I don't know. What I mean, learning about the politics in Florida. I don't know. What would you say it would be?
I think it's just meeting good people. I met that's a big factor for us relocating and moving out there. Were the people that I met and interacted with. It made me feel I wasn't alone in my beliefs. Like, I was not actually a political person until COVID happened.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I started reading the news more, paying attention, following certain social media influencers, handles, critically thinking about the world at large. And so that kind of impacted my outlook. And then, of course, being involved. But, you know, overall, I got to meet some great people. I got to meet Ron DeSantis briefly.
That's cool.
You know, congressional seat, Matt Gaetz, or what do you call him?
Matt Gaetz.
Congressman.
Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz, you know, nice, quick, you know, made eye contact with Donald Trump at a rally. I felt like he saw me. No, he did. He looked right at me. So that was cool. You know, different things, like different people being interviewed by the BBC. I had like 4 or 5 interviews with them, which was cool.
You gonna do it again?
If they call me. But
if your mom asks. Oh, no, BBC, you'd be like, if they call you.
Yeah.
You gonna do it again if your mom asks?
You know, that's hard. I really want to focus on the business and grow the company.
Let's talk about that
right now. Oh, okay. Yeah. So
we're gonna grow the business, grow the company. We'll throw it out there, maybe
because I love pressure and deadlines. I do really well with those constricting deadlines, and things have to happen. However, I'm honest. It's my mother. I'm not going to lie to her. She may not like what I have to say, but she listened to me.
The best thing is you're honest with her.
I am.
Straightforward.
I'm brutally honest with her.
Yeah,
she listened to me and things went really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, great. My mom's going to listen to me. I like this. This is perfect. So, you know, we'll see. We'll have to just play it by ear. I mean, we definitely need to bring on a professional consultant, which I'm looking at through people I've met that I trust that have given me resources.
See? It's kind of like you do this in iterations and you always get better the next time,
life,
right?
you know, life is a continual unfoldment process. And, you know,
you got to learn from your experiences. And if you don't and you keep fucking repeating it, then I think you're insane or something like that. It's kind of the saying, right? So, yeah. So, all right. My family seasonings. I've talked about this a few times on the show. We actually did the My Family Seasonings over Christmas on a standing rib roast.
Okay.
And it was probably the best fucking thing I've ever had in my entire life.
Wonderful.
And Beth said the same thing. And I'm sorry to swear. Sorry. But it was amazing. And we've actually you sent us a big-ass package of these things.
Okay.
We handed them out to the neighbors. And they're also providing us with feedback that is swimmingly. They've got all sorts of things from hamburger seasoning to this one's wild game seasoning. You've got meatloaf seasoning. There's a million of them. So go out to myfamilyseasoning.com and check that out. It's also in all sorts of grocery stores and different locations.
Yeah, grocery stores,
here
Amazon.
In Texas, it's primarily
Central Markets here. We love Central Markets. Thank you, Robin Murphy.
Yeah.
You're wonderful.
So Allison, thank you so much for chatting with me for a while tonight.
I could keep going. I mean, I could keep going.
But,
we could Joe Rogan this and just do like this 3 hour
of shit
across the table, you know, going at it.
It's already
with our
late
intellect.
night, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not joking. It's pretty late night. It's already 1:00 in the morning here. They're driving through. This is for family and friends, and this is the extended cut. Family and friends. They're driving through. They're moving from California to Florida.
For leaving
Really happy
Colleyville.
that you're staying with us for a couple nights.
Me too. I was really excited.
It's awesome. So,
I know.
thank you so much.
Very
And
excited.
happy to have her husband here, Brian,
Thank you.
as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you to all our first responders, military, frontline folks. Evan Haley, miss you. Ian, it's too late to get a beer. Make the fire. Be good to each other. And we'll catch you guys next time. All right. Later.